Hey guys, it's Tammy. Hope everybody's doing well. We're doing well. We've had a very busy past week and weekend. It's been a good busy, but we have been busy. I've actually been shooting some other videos as well. That ain't part of the busy part, but it has been a big part of the busy part at the same time. Shooting different videos. I've actually worked on my black walnut. We have a lot of black walnut around this property. And I've been working on my black walnut, and some of you may have already heard how I use that in different ways concerning deworming and stuff like that. And I've got some videos that I have shot for that as I've worked on my black walnut. And I'll be bringing those out either later this week or next week or sometime throughout the next week or two. And part of what black walnut is good for is making pies. And as a lot of you know, we're still doing our pie collaboration. It's really went really well, and it's been so joyful in the aspect of all the folks that we've got to communicate with and such. And you know, I've mentioned in a previous video how it felt like we was all sitting around the Thanksgiving table and talking amongst each other and sharing ideas and what we used to do when we was kids and different things like that concerning different pies and how Grandma did this and that. And that's been awesome. And then with me and Lori and Vicki, we've talked about it within our own selves. And so that's been even, you know, really cool. And we've seen how we've got to connect with people. And that blesses each of us because we love people and we want to, you know, just enjoy each other. But anyway, I want to get on with this pie. I'm actually kind of having to partially wing this pie, so we'll find out how it turns out. And that's okay. That's good. I like to do that every now and then anyway. So I've basically got the principles for this pie. I know what the ingredients are for this pie, and I know what the principles are for a pecan pie. And this pie would be similar to something like that. So this actual pie is called a buttered maple black walnut pie is the name of it. Buttered maple black walnut pie. Okay, I said that. But the recipe wouldn't actually come up the way it needed to come up on my computer. So I got, like I said, I basically got the ingredients and I got the idea of what is supposed to be what. So we're going to make it anyway because I really want to make this pie. And there's more than one reason that I want to make this pie. One of the reasons is my black walnuts, but another reason is my maple syrup. And if anybody's not seen, this past winter was the first year that I ever had tried to make maple syrup. And I had some good things and some bad things happen during all that. But I want to be able to use my maple syrup for something special because I didn't get but about a quart's worth altogether anyway because it was an experimental stage for me. So I'm going to use part of that in this recipe. So today it's kind of quick, but here I have 1 cup of black walnuts and I have sprinkled a tablespoon of flour on this and mixed it in, and all that does is helps keep the nuts from sinking as bad and all that. They'll kind of stay uniform within the pan better. I've got me a pre-baked pie crust over here. It's actually partially baked. Many of you know I like to just partially bake mine if I know that it's a pie that's going to have to be baked again because I don't like the gooiness on the bottom of the pies. Now here I added 3 tablespoons of softened butter. And that's what I had right there. I'm putting it. Okay, I apologize for that. My nuts with 1 cup of nuts with 1 tablespoon of flour, and I coated them well with that. I took 3 tablespoons of softened butter and added to this. Now I'm going to take, well, let me go ahead and take my eggs. 3 large eggs. On. You can do this in a mixer. I'm just choosing not to today. For any of you that didn't know, I don't think I've already mentioned it. I want to go ahead and mix this up a little bit, guys. And then I'm going to, let me tell you this first. And then I'm going to add a 1/3 of a cup of packed brown sugar. a fox got my ducks. Got every single one of them. I was very bummed. He actually, or she, I'm pretty sure it was a she, because I think she had some babies. She actually got a third of a cup of brown sugar, guys. She actually got one of them while in the daytime while it was down at the creek. And then she came back and got the rest of them the night after that. So my ducks is gone. I was sad. I really was sad because of Moose, because he was, and I do say Moose, M-O-O-S-E. Sometimes people think I say Goose, but I named him Moose, and don't ask me why, because I really don't know why. But he was the only one that I kind of made a pet out of, and he still wasn't really a pet, but it happened. Now I'm going to add, and this recipe does not call for this, but I like to add always a little bit of salt. I'm going to add a quarter of a teaspoon of salt to this. And the reason I do that is because it helps mingle flavors in together better, especially when you've got so much sweet. It kind of helps break that sweetness up as well. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. But Moose was a blue runner duck, and the rest of them were roe. They weren't runner type ducks, they were roes. And I always looked for his long neck whenever I'd look out to check on everybody, and he was the one I'd see. So I keep looking for his long neck. I still catch myself looking for him. Now I'm going to add, let's see, I've got my 3 eggs, a third a cup of packed brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 3 tablespoons of butter. Now I'm going to add 1 cup of my maple syrup. And I put my butter in here first. If y'all, I don't know if you noticed, but this was the one I used for that. And I'm going to put my maple syrup in there because that oil from that butter will help it drain out of there better. And that's just something I like to do. It ain't something that anybody has to do. It's just something I like to do. So I get to use my good old maple syrup for this. I'm excited about that. And see, that just kind of helps that come out of there a little better. Which I've got my spatula. I'm one of those people out of there. I don't like to waste it. Especially as hard as I worked on this maple syrup now. I'm telling you. And I think I'm going to do it again this year. But I'll tell you something else I'm going to do this year. And this has to do with my black walnut. Is whenever I was reading up about how to do this with the maple syrup, I also read that you can do that with black walnut trees. So I'm going to try it with one of my black walnut trees this year too, and just see what comes of it. Won't hurt to try, I guess. Alright, and I got all that mixed in there, as you can see. Now I've got my 1 cup of nuts with the flour sprinkled on them. I'm going to mix that into the mix here. Then I'm simply going to pour it into my pie shell. Now, once again, I got lazy and I just bought me a shell, and I've got a hole in it there, so I hope it don't mess it up. But you know what? It's all going to go to a good place in my belly. This here is a deep dish, and it looks like that's probably about right. One thing about these type of pies, though, whenever they bake, they tend to shrink a little. So, boy, it smells good. I can smell that maple. Now, I'm going to put this in the oven for approximately, I'm going to tell you it's 40 minutes. I'm going to actually look at my pecan pie recipe and remember, forget the time. I meant to do that, guys. It was 350 oven for approximately 40 to 45 minutes, just depending on your oven, so keep an eye on it to that point. Okay, guys, I got my pie out. I went ahead and cut my piece out. I wanted you to see that it did set up and be firm and stuff good. But my actual piece, by the time I got it out, you know that first piece of pie, whenever you pull it out, how it's hard to keep it pretty. But it did set up good. So those ingredients in the ratio that I gave them made for a good setup in this pie. And it's still a little warm. You could put you some Cool Whip on this. I like stuff like this a little warm anyway, but I have a hard time waiting. What can I say? I can't wait. Anyway, here I also wanted to tell you, very good. What really sets this apart from a pecan pie is those maple syrup. Generally with a pecan pie, you use dark Karo syrup. Sometimes light Karo syrup, depending. But yeah, that's what's really setting this apart. And actually the nuts. And I meant to say too, I only had a little less than half a cup of black walnuts already hulled. Anybody that's ever shelled out black walnuts knows they're a little time consuming. So part of the walnuts in this is English walnuts. But probably might be a half or a little less of it was black walnuts. Which ain't a great big difference when it comes to flavor, to me anyway. But this turned out really well. Very well. I can't complain about this at all. Considering I didn't have the ratio good for the... But anyway, this one's a good one to give a try, guys, and it was super easy. And like I said, you can use English walnuts in this instead of black walnuts if you're in an area that don't easily accessible have black walnuts. The maple syrup, great. I will tell you though, if you, which I did have my maple syrup, but if I wanted to make this and I didn't have no maple syrup, you could easily use the Karo syrup, dark Karo syrup. You could add some maple flavoring to it if you wanted to. Actually, that would be good even in a pecan pie, I think. If I was going to do something like that, I'll probably add about a teaspoon's worth of the maple because that's really what sets this apart. But you know, you can tell that the walnuts go good with the maple really well too. It's very fallish tasting when it comes to that. The walnut and the maple. Very wintry. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. This was a really good pie. And I'm not sure what all else we're going to be coming up with between now and the end of November, but I know it's going to be good. And good to our bellies as well. Anyway, God bless you guys. I appreciate you guys. Until next time.
It is really foggy still.